Welcome to an exceptional show for Rebellion Research's educational series. I'm here with Dr. Thársis Souza, someone I've been following for years, a brilliant quant who has gotten his degrees from Columbia Business School, UCL, and is actually currently a faculty member at Columbia in the MSc program and has published some really fantastic research. I urge our viewers to check out his Google Scholar page afterwards. But today we're here to talk about his new upcoming book, Tamming LLM, which big congratulations, O'Reilly just picked up, and I want to hear all about this book.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Sure, no, my pleasure. So tell me, what was the genesis for writing this book?
Well, I've been working, within the tech and financial industry for a while, and since 2022, of course, we all, being amazed by, the potential new capabilities offered by large language models. After, building open source products myself, after working with large organizations, also philanthropic organizations like code.org, but also engaging with peers, colleagues, and market participants, I've come to realize that there is a lot of discourse around the capabilities and the things that you can do with large language models and generative AI in general. However, I think there is a missed opportunity on actually coming to realize that there are many pitfalls and limitations, particularly when actually building software products on top of LLMs. So at some point, after I was building my own open source projects, I found myself spending sometimes more time overcoming those challenges than actually building new capabilities, right? And I found myself with a lot of code and notes and thoughts around those complexities, around those challenges, and then how to overcome them using open source software. So I naturally started, structuring those thoughts and notes. And I think the best way to really organize your ideas is to write. To write is to think. And then suddenly I found myself with a kind of an early draft of a open source book with reproducible Python code, where I go over key challenges that builders face when building LLM-based products, and naturally put together a book as a consequence that now it's been acquired by O'Reilly.
Well, I want to stop you for a second. I remember a few years back, I was working with a student at as our viewers know, I work with Cornell, Columbia, and Fordham, and Berkeley, master's students. And one of them, about I think it was 2021, was trying to work at Two Sigma. And I asked you what was the number one skill he or she should concentrate on for a Two Sigma job. And you said, Alex, strong coding really is still very important. Do you feel after writing this book that strong coding skills still remains the kind of preeminent feature for budding quant?
No, I think the most important feature is really intellectual curiosity, because code generation or model development or software development. I think those are, of course, critical skills. But I think, how to do things, in my opinion, is less of a priority in our new world driven by Gen AI. And what to build, I think, becomes more of a priority. Did I lose my
Yeah,
camera?
there we go.
Okay, am I
Now
back?
you're back. Mhm.
All right, excellent. Perhaps the Gen AI keyword shuts down my camera, so I will avoid use that keyword. But what I was saying was, I think what to do. I think it's becoming more and more important than actually how you do it. And I think what drives what to do is really how curious you are about the problem that you are solving. So if you are passionate about that problem, and then how curious you are about really exploring, the boundaries of it. I think it's really the key. I've worked in teams that really were so creative because they were diverse, not necessarily coming from a particular background, let's say engineering. I've worked with people coming from like musicians or writers. Of course, a lot of people from physics, computer science as well. But I think diversity. I think it's a key component of the success of teams that I've worked with.
It's amazing. 20 years ago, I spent 6 months building a script to download data from the SEC because our Edgar data and Bloomberg data was just so filled with holes. And now, with a few prompts and a subscription, you can just create that on Gemini. It's amazing how technology has changed, the workflow.
That's
Really.
right.
Yeah, no. I feel like someone from the 1920s, 1910s who went from horse buggies to cars, and it's really just it's shocking. I wonder, do you think that software coding will be completely useless in 10, 20 years? Will there be almost no need to be a great software engineer?
No, you do, right? Because I think one can be a lot productive in terms of really having LLMs as, of course, co-assistants. But I think there are a lot of dangers, in my opinion, on really you know simply let them run end-to-end things. I think we remain depending on the creativity of humans, not only in terms of really prioritizing what problems to solve, but also we are not really good yet in terms of actually verifying results yet. When you look at really, if you are a quant developer or software developer, right? What are some of the key aspects, in my opinion, that it's important to keep in mind that are really, in my opinion, very different when you compare traditional software development with LLM-based software development. I think there are a couple of aspects that are really key there because they're quite fundamentally different. So if you take, let's say, how you assess software, right? When you look at really traditional software developments, before we had kind of a finite set of functionality that you wanted to validate, and you had input and output, right? It's very, very, very basic. So you can have a test set where, given an input, you can get a deterministic output, and then you can really verify that systematically. With LLMs, it's really, if you're building software with LLMs, like the very example that you have described, where you were scraping something to really extract some data set from somewhere, it's quite different how you actually assess that functionality. I think for mainly two reasons. Number one, LLMs have this quite interesting phenomenon of really emerging properties, where it's coming from, scaling laws, where the larger the model, the more capabilities they have. But the interesting thing is that we can quite predict what those capabilities are. Models are becoming larger and larger, more capable, but actually those capabilities are not being prescribed by developers. They're emerging naturally as models are becoming larger and more capable. So how can we assess software where the underlying LLM might present with capabilities where you did not prescribe upfront, right? So that's one property. A second property is really, the non-deterministic nature of LLMs. If you were writing software, you just had to have a test set with input and output. Now the same input can generate, multiple outputs. So now when you are actually assessing capabilities, you need to think more on a kind of stochastic nature of the outcome. So you are actually evaluating distributions of outputs rather than really deterministic outcomes. And that's one aspect of the story. How do you assess capabilities when building LLM-based software is quite different. There are many aspects that one needs to keep in mind when building software, building models out there using LLMs.
So getting back to your book, you'd say that it's equally important for both a master's or PhD student in quant as opposed to a mathematician or a researcher at a hedge fund.
I think one could argue that every software will be AI software soon, right?
Mhm.
Because not because AI solves everything. It's more because it's hard to think about a product that cannot be enhanced in some way when using generative AI, right? So either if you're coming from physics, mathematics, if you are a software engineer, at the end of the day, you will be interacting with a piece of software that is really tapping into some Gen AI capability. Now, humans will not be replaced by Gen AI. Humans will be replaced by other humans leveraging Gen AI. So you gotta be aware not only of what you can do, but also the limitations of these Gen AI capabilities, so you remain competitive. So bottom line, I think it's really uh, fundamental. It's a fundamental skill going forward for any professional. Physics, mathematics, computer scientists, product managers, tech leaders, modelers, all of them will be required to have such expertise. Could be a tiny part of the workflow, could be the entire workflow, but it will be there.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I had a Cornell Financial Engineering student doing a project for me, and he used generative AI to show the distribution of the model. So when he set the beta at a certain level, what the Sharp would be. And it was amazing. And the data table was fantastic. He showed me, potential Sharp ratios from a beta of zero point 0.5 all the way up to a beta of 2x. And I said, wow, this is a data table that just, you can generate with generative AI just like that. It's not like one of those things where you feel like generative AI is kind of cheating, but where generative AI kind of becomes this really useful sidekick, offering fantastic kind of asymmetric analytic information on your research. Really just cutting down the time that anyone could do that, but it would just take a bunch of time.
No, that's right. That's right. I think one on the one hand, Gen AI is really powerful in the sense of really perhaps helping you ask the questions that you might not be thinking, and also, let's say, democratizing access to, let's call it, advanced analytics, right? So if before you had to have, let's say, PhDs doing, advanced analytics type of work. Now, if you understand well the problem, you could be leveraging LLMs to actually do a lot of analytical work for you. Either to do the work because you don't know, or perhaps you know because you are a PhD and then you have the expertise, and then really augment, your cognitive ability by really recommending you, additional analytics, metrics, models that you should consider. Perhaps even generate code for you so you are productive in doing so. However, there is a danger there, right? I think a major risk is the phenomenon of intelligence delegation, which I have just invented that term, which is something that I've been observing a lot, which is, it is true that the price of intelligence is decaying to zero. There is analysis by A16Z where the price of Gen AI products is decaying 10x every year. However, a consequence of that phenomenon is that I've seen more and more humans getting lazy, meaning they're delegating more and more intelligence to LLMs, because they believe that LLMs can do everything. And then what is the danger there? I think the danger there is twofold. Number one, we are having humans not being able to verify outcomes coming from LLMs. So one thing is to think about LLMs can do X, Y, and Z, and before I couldn't, which is great. However, if you can't verify the outcome, it's a trap.
No.
It's a trap. If humans cannot really verify that that Sharpe ratio grade is actually robust, we are actually setting a trap, to ourselves. So I think intelligence delegation is a risk. I think humans must remain critical thinkers. Otherwise, we are just setting traps for us.
Yeah, there was a French philosopher from the 1920s who felt that over the next few centuries, we would evolve to become a creature with just one finger to push one button, and that would be all humans did all day.
Yes,
So,
exactly,
yes.
exactly. And then you were talking about that use case, involving some back testing and sharp ratios and everything, which brings me another danger of LLMs, particularly in use cases where point in time data is critical, right? I remember I was working once upon a time in a Silicon Valley startup where I was building products that I sold to hedge funds, right? And then one day I was on a call with one of the largest thematic hedge funds here in the US, and they asked me a very simple question, which is, "Hey, is your data set point in time?" And my answer was partially. We are kind of a recent startup, so we only managed to have true point in time data of, let's say, 3 years, because we are kind of a new startup. Beyond that point, we had back populated the data sets ourselves. So we do have 15 years of history, but only 3 years are really true point in time, right? And then the conversation was completely shut down, and then they reverted us to the discretionary group, right? So certain companies, certain use cases, do require true point-in-time data sets, so not to fall into the trap of, oh, my back tests are amazing. However, you have look-ahead bias, right?
Yeah.
And then I am amazed today by how much of, and then now I'm not speaking in terms of any specific hedge funds, but talking to peers and market participants, data providers. I'm amazed by how perhaps we as an industry is not taking these foundational requirements as seriously as we were, right? If you look at LLMs are, they do work with stale data. They do work with data from the future. If you are backtesting in a point in time, they do process data that we cannot fully claim where that data is coming from. So not only we might be setting a trap as far as data leakage, but we might be setting regulatory and compliance risk if later down the road it is discovered that certain data sets that we were not supposed to be processing, we were, right. So I'm not speaking in specific terms to any market participant or data
Hmm.
provider. I'm talking about the general problem of LLMs, which were products built for consumer-facing users that are now pervasive across industries. So it's important for us to really understand how they are built, understand their limitations, to really properly evaluate, hey, is this the right solution for us? Are we and then consider trade-offs between really what you can get out of them versus the risks as well.
Awesome. Well, when do you expect your book to be published?
Um, I expect to be published next month, but I can't deliver that
Okay.
because, of course, we will need to go through an editorial process. I think, in this area, AI and Gen AI and LLMs, things change so rapidly, right? So I wished we could get this out, tomorrow, because then it would benefit, the audience the most, and then we can also learn from one another, right? But I think we're gonna be able to publish in the next couple of months, have incorporated, feedback from experts and technical reviewers, and hopefully we can have new editions, right? First edition, second edition, because this industry changes so much, and I
Oh
think
no, without
2025
a
will
doubt,
be.
I would
Yep.
expect you're going to come out with a sequel.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. That's right. And 2024, particularly the end of 2024, so much changed in terms of, let's say, new capabilities, new technology, new products out there. I think 2025 will be the year where all of us will be trying to seize the opportunity and then really trying to actually get ROI from these solutions. So perhaps there will be some consolidation in the industry, and then I think the first winners in terms of really actually translating the promise into results will emerge in 2025, and therefore we're going to have some significant learnings from that experience.
well, congratulations on O'Reilly. That's obviously a huge coup. We greatly respect O'Reilly, one of the top names in technological research. Actually, a dear friend of my good friend Bill Janeway, who's the former vice chair of Walter Pincus and a professor at Oxford. And Bill thinks just the world of O'Reilly. And I guess when you get Bill's respect, it says something pretty impressive. So to have O'Reilly pick up your book is pretty awesome, Tharsis. And I have found you to be highly impressive since when we first met, and this was really an honor having you on today.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Alex. I think the expertise coming from folks like yourselves, and then also colleagues from the industry, will be, I think, reshaping this area. I think we are very early, and a lot will happen this year and in the coming years, from which we can learn a lot.
I'd also like to add about you, Tharsis, that you've spent the last few years at a place where I have just an enormous amount of friends, Two Sigma, and my friends at Two Sigma range from former students who are low to friends who are rather quite high up, and from top to bottom. The respect you have garnered at Two Sigma is really quite impressive, and which just absolutely impresses me. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really an amazing opportunity. To Sigma has so many, nice geeks, which means that you can learn a lot from them. It's also a vibrant and a very, very great workplace to be
Yeah.
at.
It's like going to a fantastic engineering math school at Princeton, but when you can rise to the top of a Two Sigma like as you did, it really just goes to show what type of brain power you have. So thank you so much for coming on today, and I'm excited to talk to you in the future.
Thanks so much, Alex.
My pleasure. Yeah. Bye bye. Stay well.